Hello everybody, welcome back to another video for the day. Now we're going right back into Tales of Neckbeard. Beforehand, if you haven't already, be sure to like the video. During the video, if you see something you'd like to talk about, leave a comment down below. And if you have not already, subscribe to the channel and turn on them notifications. Let's get right into that content. Let's go! Our first story comes to us from username Snowing Starlight. Dated a neckbeard, not knowing what a neckbeard was. Don't know if he counts exactly as a neckbeard, as his beard was more stubble than actual beard, but he fits more than one category. Fedora, calling himself a nice guy, obsessed with anime, long greasy hair, so I thought I'd share my experience of dating a guy who was a nice guy slash neckbeard for over a year. So this is a long story, folks. Strap yourselves in for the long haul. To start off with, I've liked anime since I was young, Sailor Moon, Pokemon, etc. But didn't really get into more anime, Bleach, Naruto, Tokyo Ghoul, etc. until I was a bit older, 13 to 14 years old, and I've always had a love for video games and fantasy since my parents were D&D players, and I had a huge reading obsession. I was reading The Forgotten Realms at 10, but I know how to distance myself and often find myself busier with work, school, life, than just sitting and playing games or watching anime. A handful of years ago, I was working at a grocery store that has since closed down, and that's where I met my ex. We'll call him Jay. Jay seemed like a normal guy, taller than me, 5'10", and skinny, and wearing a fedora. At the time, I was close to finishing an anime series and was looking for a new one to start when he came through my cashier line, and I noticed the anime shirt and asked what series it was. It was Steins Gate, for those curious. It was actually good. Immediately, his face lit up, and that's how we began chatting. It wasn't until several months later that I saw him again though, and a few more before we actually started dating. First restaurant he took me to was an Asian cuisine, and refused to let me pay half the bill, and we had spent several hours talking about different shows and voice actors and games, about what we had wanted to do with our futures. It was also then that I found out that he was 19. At the time, I was 21. No biggie, just a few years off, right? On our second date, he gave me his box set of his favorite anime, begging me to watch it. Again, it was Steins Gate, and I binged it and enjoyed it and suggested another anime for him to watch, which he did over several months, Bakano. Jay was unemployed at the time and was living with his dad, and I was, and am, living at home due to college, had no intentions of trying to go to college, and was hardly trying to find a job, instead spending his days writing his game and spending money on it. Okay, seems like something he'd want to do for a living, so I encouraged Jay, and he started a Patreon. But until then, he couldn't pay his artist slash writer, so he got a job where I worked thanks to me and a mutual friend speaking up for him, and was fired a handful of months later for making a sexual joke to a minor 17-year-old girl who, to be honest, was a known drama queen and still is. After he was fired, he poured more attention into his game, getting a bit of money from it while I continued working at the store. A movie was coming out in a few months that I wanted to see that was a part of a series he hadn't seen, so we spent time at my house after school watching the series. I worked 40 hours a week and took college on my days off. Jay did not have a filter on his mouth. I grew up in a no-swear household, and he had not. My parents requested he didn't swear in our house, and after several times of my dad, whose office is next to my bedroom, swearing at the stupidity of people in the series slash movies, they had threatened to not let him in the house if he didn't stop. During this time was the annual convention I've attended every year, and I was making a costume to put into the contest. However, due to time constraints, there were several details or things left so at the last week before the convention, and there were nights I didn't sleep trying to get it done. Unfortunately, I didn't win anything, but next year will be different. Seeking comfort and reassurance from him, I was telling him my issues with my sewing, and Jay told me that it wasn't going to be done in time and that I shouldn't be getting so upset because I was failing and to just give up. I was cross-playing, dressing as a character of the opposite sex, a character, and he was against that, admittedly. I was so furious I didn't speak to him for a full day, but ultimately forgave him for reasons I can't even remember. For his birthday, I made an outfit from his favorite anime to dress up in to surprise him, and after the moment of initial excitement, he stated criticizing the things I hadn't gotten right at the time due to not knowing how to sew or make it. The hat was wrong, the sleeves were puffed, fabric was the shade off, etc. Jay, once his game started making money, asked me how much I had made a month, and when I told him, actually found out it was more than that once I started looking to buy a car. He told me he only needed to hit a certain goal for his game so that I could stop working and focus on school while he paid for everything. This being my first serious relationship, I ignored it as him trying to be helpful, though I was a little freaked out at the time and kindly told him I wasn't looking to stop working. However, things started to turn when the movie I was excited to see was coming up. We were going with our friend group smashed up, my best friend and his best friend, and I asked our mutual best friend, 20 male, who we'll call Tom, who's very fashion conscious for date outfit ideas. Despite being a female, I'm very much a tomboy, happy in my jeans and t-shirt, and don't even touch makeup unless it's for something fanciful or cosplay, and my best gal friend, we'll call her Tina, did my makeup. Jay didn't like that. He thought date clothes were supposed to be personal to the person, and truthfully, I can understand that, but I wanted it to be special. Tina and I made a day of shopping, and Jay got really upset when she sent a picture of me in the makeup off to Tom. I had wanted to personally see Jay's response, as he had hardly ever seen me in makeup, and certainly not in makeup as well done as that Tina had done. He didn't say much on it, and when we got to the theater meeting up with Tom, Tina, Brock, Tina's boyfriend, and a good friend of mine, and Jay's childhood friend Ollie, whom I hadn't met even though we'd been dating nearly a year then, and Jay had met my friends and family. I made a joke to Tom asking if he was proud of me finally taking his fashion advice, and Jay made this weird face I hadn't caught at the time, but Tina and Brock did. Allie was rude the entire time. When I was trying to make a conversation, she'd give me looks or talk to only Tom and Jay, settling between them and talking to them during the movie, and even when we all went to eat afterwards. I never spoke to her again after that night, but apparently I didn't make a good first impression, or so Jay and Tom said, though at least Tom seemed confused about it. Another thing about Jay was that I had never met any of his family while we were dating, nor any of his friends outside of Allie. He claimed he had a strained relationship with his dad, as his dad asked for help paying the bills while Jay lived there, and his mom left when he was little, yet he went to see her and his brother for Thanksgiving. Most of his friends were in their late 20s, early 30s, except for Tom and Allie. Jay was constantly broke and often spoke of using his inheritance to spend on his game, which by this time was making a few $100s a month. It was then he asked me to play it, and I did without telling him. It was an off-brand game where a large-chested girl with hair color like mine was groped in the first cutscene. I noped out of that. As time went on a little, I was focusing on work and school as finals were a few months away, and I had 3 large classes where my final grades were really important: English composition, business calculus, and business speech. And with my anxiety and depression spiraling out of control due to stress, I started seeing a counselor to help cope, and started to spend less time with Jay. He didn't like that and started showing up to my job in the evenings to hang out with me, despite me asking him not to and obvious discomfort. Thankfully, Brock, who was the manager there, sensed my discomfort and usually sidetracked Jay or just hung out there. One night, when I was going to head home immediately after work due to having ingredients my mom needed for dinner, Jay came in when Brock wasn't there and hung out for a few until the manager on duty shooed him off and he sat out in his car, knowing full well I needed to go home immediately, waiting for me to get off to talk to me. Jay asked me if I was still serious about our relationship and him, and I said yes wearily, and I still laugh thinking about it, asked me if I wanted to get a hotel room with him 4 months from then. I told him maybe. Our relationship didn't last more than 2 months after that. I finished my finals, but work did not let up, and with the holidays we were busier than ever. I got sick right after Christmas and spent 4 days at home when the worst cold I've ever had in years. One of those days I was sick, it was 11 p.m. at night, and I finally called Jay to talk to him over the phone because we hadn't had a good conversation in a while because I'd been so busy with school and work. We were talking about a friend who'd been cheated on, and I was talking about how that friend had been having trust issues with his girlfriend for a while when Jay said that he understood, as he thought I had been cheating on him for a few months and decided I wasn't. I could literally hear the record scratching to a halt. What? Yeah, I thought you were cheating on me, but it doesn't matter now. I know you weren't. Yeah, it matters. Who did you think I was cheating on you with? No one. It doesn't matter now. Jay would not answer my question, and I shrugged it off for the moment, too tired and sick to care. He then asked me to move in with him the following year, this year, and with a friend of his, 35 male, I had once again never met. I wouldn't have to worry about bills. He told me he and his friend would pay for all of it, and we'd be living over an hour away from the only family in this state, and he could take care of my pet if I went on a school trip to Europe if I wanted to. I shut that down, saying I wasn't comfortable with the idea and to let me think on it. Jay never liked me paying for anything, meals, snacks, movie tickets, gift, or anything while we were together, and would always throw a small fit or sulked for the evening when I did because I liked doing that. I liked spoiling people I love in a little way. The only gift he allowed was his birthday gift and Valentine's. I broke up with him face to face 3 days after he admitted that he thought I was cheating on him. I didn't speak to him during those days, instead seriously thinking our relationship and everything over, and realizing the red flags that were there and that our plans for the future didn't match. My friends were really supportive of my decision, and they had seen and disliked the way our relationship had been, and had voiced in a few times. Tina even offered to fight Jay in the parking lot once he upset me. It was hilarious. I asked him when we were face to face that why he had thought I had been cheating on him, and immediately Jay had backpedaled and tried to say that he thought I was losing interest in him, and that's why he had asked me to get a hotel with him, Lamau. We parted on what I thought was good terms, and I told him that I didn't want to talk to him for a while because I wanted to get myself and my thoughts in proper order, but that I'd like to be friends still. The very next day, I got a message from him asking what had gone wrong in our relationship so that he knew what to fix for this next one. Excuse me, what? I straight up told him he hadn't respected my boundaries and the rules I had put in place, and that he'd been disrespectful to my friends and family and myself. I got a mile-long rant about how he hadn't been in the wrong and how he didn't know where there were any boundaries, and that he couldn't stop swearing in my house like a light switch flicking off. He also told me that he didn't believe a person could get busy, but instead they were prioritizing things, and that I hadn't prioritized him. So, buddy, I had prioritized my family, my job, my mental health, and my schoolings over you? You bet your butt I did. I haven't spoken to him since, even though he messaged me a few times. Apparently now he's in his 6th relationship. Jay is now 21, and according to when we started dating, I was his 3rd girlfriend. However, by the time we broke up, I was his 5th. Our friend Tom was informed to me that he now calls me his crazy ex, which I find hilarious because all of his other girlfriends were crazy too. One especially because she'd type things like flavor instead of flavor. Yes, we live in the US. I grew up typing it like that too, though I had to stop because he loathed it. He's still making his game last I knew and is still obsessed with anime. As for the cheating thing, the best I and my friends can figure out was that he thought Brock and I were cheating on him, and no, Brock is his brother I wish I had, even though I used to jokingly call him my husband, and Tina was my wife, all due to mistakenly assume Tina and I were dating by customers, or Brock and I were dating. It was a long-running joke before I even started dating Jay. I probably have more stories on him and his oddities, but none come to mind at the moment. If I think of any, I may update or start a new post if others are interested. It's been nearly a year now since we've broken up, and I'm still blissfully single, but I'll never forget you, Jay, you negative Nancy. May you one day be blessed with a bottle of shampoo. Oh, Jesus. Okay, I didn't know you could end something with a sucker punch, but I am now surprised and enlightened on that. Yeah, no, that wasn't a fair relationship. Neither of you had, equal leverage. It was him trying to be constantly in control of absolutely everything. Seriously, I've been told from more than one people that they hate it when other people force them to be able to get paid for. If somebody says, oh, let's split the check. No, she isn't allowed to, or something like that. I don't know. That's a weird phrase, and it's bad. My personal opinion on the matter is that if it came down to only one person having to pay for the food, I would go for whoever initiated the date. Whoever offered to take the other person out on the date should be the person to pay for it. But more or less, I prefer it being evenly split. That way, you both save money. And seriously, saying no to somebody's clothes just because you want to be in control of stuff? No. If they want to do something that makes them feel good, then let them do that. Our next story comes to us from username Fanged Eyes. Short, mall, neckbeard story. I believe I was a freshman around when I was 13 to 14, I don't know, it was a few days after Christmas of 2017, and I got some money from a couple of relatives that visit over the holidays, so I decided that I wanted to buy a copy of Monster Hunter World. My older sister, who was around 18 at the time, a senior in high school, was headed to the mall with a couple of friends who were very nice people, and I knew them a little bit. I asked my sister if I could tag along so I can buy something at the mall, and she let me come. We entered the mall earlier than all of her friends, so me and my sister went to GameStop so I could get Monster Hunter. I got the game and paid for it, all that stuff, and after I bought the game, I saw my sister looking at some t-shirts that GameStop sold. She settled on buying a Persona shirt. I'm not familiar with the series, so I can't be specific enough. My sister really liked Persona and has a copy of the game herself that I never touched. Anyways, a large-looking man approached me while she was in line. He was indeed a neckbeard, had a greasy ponytail, a fat, rusty, tangled beard, khaki shorts, and a gray shirt with some anime character thing on it. So Mr. Neckbeard here goes up and believes he said, "So you're a fan of Persona 5, huh? That's rare to see a woman as fancy as you in a store like this. What kind of games are you into?" My sister had the most uncomfortable face on her when the neckbeard approached her with a conversation. "I don't really play a lot of games. I mostly play Persona," she said nervously. Watching this from afar, I felt like she was going to cry from the stench, so I kind of jumped in and asked, "Are you okay, sister?" replacing sister with for her name. The neckbeard just looked at me with furious intent in his eyes like I had just broken his whole collection of My Little Pony figures. He goes up to my face and I could feel the stench masking over me as he said, "I'm trying to hold a nice conversation with this young woman, don't interrupt us." As he talked, I felt like my whole face just melted and I think some of his spit got into my eye. Our return in line was ready and my sister buys the shirt and we start to leave, but we got blocked by the neckbeard. He pushes me to the side and puts his hands on my sister's shoulders. "Let's exchange numbers. I'm into Persona as well and we should be very nice friends and eventually even more." My sister had enough of it and slapped the motherfricker. The impact of the slap stung in my ears. She then quickly helped me off the ground and we rushed over to the food court where her friends could meet. Her friends were all sitting at the table in a boba shop on their phones and drinking boba and stuff. We sit down and they all say hi and stuff. I got a high five from one of them who noticed I got Monster Hunter. all seemed well, but guess what? We were trailed by Mr. Neckbeard, and I could see the red mark on his acne-bumped face. He stomped towards our table with rage and yelled, "I just wanted to be your friends. Badges like you don't deserve kind and outgoing people like me." Oh boy. My sister just planted her face on the table and was covering her head with her hands. One of her friends, I think he was on our school swim team, came up to the Neckbeard and said, "Dudes, please get out of, stop bothering us." "You think you could just order me around, huh?" He then lifted the table and slammed it down with some boba spilling all over me. My sister and her friends just looked at him in a "dude, what the frick, get out of here" face. This, of course, gets the attention of one of the workers at the boba shop, and then he tells him to leave. "I'm sorry, I just can't control my anger," the Neckbeard begged. "You have 3 seconds to get out of my face before I call security," the worker sternly said. The Neckbeard then stubbornly leaves and then raises a middle finger at our table, and that was the last we ever saw of him. It's one thing when the person is creepy enough just being there, like standing near you, but it's even weirder and just downright scary when he starts to follow you. That would scare literally anyone, because you think, what is this person going to do if he gets to me? Hopefully nothing like that ever comes up again, and I hope you enjoy Monster Hunter. But that is going to have to be it for the video. If you would like what you had seen, be sure to like the video, comment down below what you liked about the video, and if you have not already, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on them notifications. Check out the Discord in the link down below, and I will be sure to see you guys in the next one. Thank you, and bye-bye.